Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender. Me, myself, and I play through the main event scenario. Game is published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta, developed by Mark Day. We're getting ready to enter into the turn of July 1943. We're going into the Western Operations phase. It is fair everywhere, so I'm breaking this up at least into 3 videos. I might have to break the Soviets into 2 by themselves with the end of turn stuff. Just because there's so much that the British the British and Americans might suddenly do, depending on what happens here in Italy. So that's where we're going to start, because it kind of drives everything, so to speak. This is a hard fight coming across the toe, but if it works, it makes me not have to waste my surprise attack markers trying to do invasions and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and do it this way, this turn. So I'm going the wrong way there. We're going to activate the 8th Army with the British, so that's 2. So they have 30 left. They're going to attack in a mobile attack that hex. So the British start off at +1 for British and +2 for being armored. And then they are -2 for the straight and -1 for the rough terrain on the other side of the straight. As far as movement points go, they start with 10. It costs 2 to go in the hex, 1 for the unit, and +2 to cross the canal or the straight's hex side. So they have 5 left. So they essentially can attack here twice like this. They're starting off at +0. Okay. They could not have placed a partisan's marker there because it's not a friendly conquered country. This is home country of Sicily. So they really don't have anything in here. They could play a surprise attack marker beforehand or the paradrop. I think that's a little excessive. Risking the paradrop just to try and take out Italy when we can probably pull it off with an invasion, a double invasion next turn in August, seems like a little too much risk. Before I did this attack, I'm sorry, I am just not with it here today. The Americans would have actually attacked the Italians. They would have been at +1. The Italians would be at -4. Should have done this first. Americans roll a 6, +1 is a 7. With their 2, it's a 2-for-1 split. So I always forget that I have to do the Americans. And then we go back to this attack that I was trying to discuss and explain. So, the British are at +0 and the Italians are at +0. And you go to combat commitment. Well, the British are going to commit, and so are the Italians. Italians have to keep the British out, make them invade. So, not there, faction card. So we're going to see the Italian tanks marker, and the British are going to be committing their RAF. So the British get +2 for their RAF, and the Italians get +2 for their tanks. Come on. Diesel Pete. So it's a +2 to a +2. And the British roll 4 +2 is a 6. And the Italians roll a 1 +2 is a 3. 6, I said? 4 +2 is a 6. 1 +2 is a 3. Oh my goodness, that's a DR. We did get across the toe. So the Italians have to retreat. Their tanks marker will go on the turn track. And the British can advance into the hex. Now the British can attack for 3 movement points. So they'll have 2 left. And the Italians will be at 0. And the British will go ahead and commit during commitment. Italians can't commit anything anymore. Throw in their airplane, and then they would be, +1 for British, +2 for armor, +2 for the airplane, -1 for the rough terrain that they're attacking. So it's a +4 to a 0. My, this is interesting. So the British will roll. Wow. 4 plus 6 is a easy. That's a 10. A net 10 they have. Couldn't get any better. And the Italians roll a 4. Let's go see what that is. A 10 to a 4 is a DD result. So now the Italians have to retreat. Don't think it matters much to them which way they retreat. I guess they'll retreat to here. Just follow the rail line. But they are flipped. Okay. The British could take the hex, but then they couldn't do anything else because they only have 2 movement points. So the 8th Army is going to stop here. And instead, the American 5th Army is going to activate. And they go 1, 2, and it's only 3 to go across here because there's a transport line, and then 4 into that hex. And then they will declare an attack, so they have 6 left at this point. And they take 3 off for an attack on this Italian unit. So the Italians are actually at -2. And they will go ahead and use another sortie on their airplane. That gives them a +2. So they would be normally at a +5, -1 for the mountains. So they're +4 to -2. Let's see what the Americans roll. A 3 plus 4 is a 7. The Italians roll, oh my, a 2. -2 is a 0, which minimum you can get is a 1 on the combat results table. So it's a 7 to a 1, which is a DD. So a reduced unit is eliminated, comes off, goes on the track. And that takes down the Italian will by 1. Technically, I get a no enemy zone of control if I want to take that hex. I have 3 movement points left. Well, I know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go ahead and move these guys. 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to move them right there so that they kind of block up any kind of nonsense like German infantry running down and trying to cut off the Americans or some damn thing. So they're down to 1 will point. I'm going to take my airplane, and I did notice in the last video that I kept forgetting to add 1 for an airplane attacking a fleet. So, my bad. But this airplane here, he's +1 because he's British. The Italians would be -1 because that's what they're at for sorties. He's +1 for British, +1 for an airplane versus a fleet, and then -2 for the sorties. So it's a 0 to a -1. The British roll. They're attacking this fleet from their airplane right here. So the British roll a 4, and the Italians roll a 2 -1. So a 4 to a 2 is a 2 for 1. So I get an extra sortie on the airplane, and he gets 2 sorties. So now the best he can roll is a 3. So I'm going to go at least once more. So if I get him up to 4 sorties, he can't stop my invasion. And then I'm going to conquer Italy by invading Rhodes, which is just sounds silly, but that's the way it's going to work. They're at -3, and I'm at -1. Again, +1 for British, +1 for airplane attacking a fleet, and then -3 for sorties. So I end up at a net -1. He's at a -3. I only need to get 1 sortie on him, so I don't really care. 3 -1 is a 2. He gets a 4 -3 is a 1. We each take a sortie. And now mathematically, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to activate this low supply unit for a point. Puts me down to 29. And he's going to declare, actually, we're not going to activate him yet. Excuse me. We are going to go to our faction card, and we are going to take the American Surprise Attack marker, and we're going to place it in the C zone. We'll place it on Rhodes, but it's effectively in the C zone. The convoy, see, it's in C zone 26, which is this one, and 27, which is that one. So I'm attacking it from this C zone. The convoy, this guy activates for amphibious assault with the convoy, and they go up and they declare the invasion hex is Rhodes. The Italians could intercept legally, but they're at -4. Means best they can get to 2. On the combat results table, a 2 is always going to be a diamond no matter what the British roll. Or maybe worse for the Italians, but it's going to be a diamond, so they can't stop the invasion. The invasion will go off, okay? So what we get here is this guy lands in Rhodes because it's unopposed. I will go ahead and have the convoy end its turn in Rhodes. I'll just put it right there, give it a sortie. Rhodes is conquered. You lose 1 national will for an overseas city. Italy goes to 0. They collapse. You check their home country. There are enemy units in their home country. So they're at 0 and there's enemy units in their home country. And we also control home country cities down here in Sicily as well. So they're kaput. They actually surrender. So that just basically means that I'm going to have a whole bunch of Italian stacks. Disappear. What do I need to do here? I'm going to do this. Place control marker. All the cities will stay German controlled, so I have to lay down a bunch of control. Dang it. Control markers as I delete these Italians. And there's still one in Sardinia, isn't there? Yep. Sorry about that. I should have probably set these control markers before I even started, assuming that Italy was going to fall sometime very soon. But that's that. So Italy's gone. That's going to make my life a whole lot easier. I will have to probably put a little bit of pressure on them from this flank, but at least I had to use up one of my precious surprise markers, but it's an American one, and they can buy them back because they have unlimited production points. So it was a good one to use up, and we got Italy out of the war, so there's that. The British will be able to kind of take care of business here in the upcoming turns. Right now, I don't think they need to do anything else in the med. We could go try to play this game. The Germans would be at a 0, so I'm thinking they're probably going to blow me up. They're down 2 factories right now. I'm thinking I need to save my sorties. There it is 0. I could fly the American because they come back free. I don't have to spend points for them. And see if he gets a low die roll. If he gets a low die roll there, I might throw the Americans at him again to take him up to some extra sorties and give the British a chance. So yeah, the strategy of bombing here. So the guy with -4 sorties, he's going to get intercepted. He's minus 4 for sorties, -2 for bomber, and he's +1 because he's American. So he's a -5, and the Germans are actually at a 0 because they're +2 for German, -2 for sorties. So we need the Germans to roll a 1 or a 2. And they rolled a 6. A 6 with a 1 will give me, I will be sortied out, and he will take a sortie. They'd be at -1 now, so I need to have a 1, 2, or 3 for the British to get through and throw a bomb marker down. I'm going to leave them there so that they have, they'll be down to 2 sorties and maybe can do 2 shots at them next turn. The Germans will be at -1. Oh, I really don't know how to do this. Yeah, the British are going to try. So the Germans are at -1. The British will go after Aachen. They're at -5. And we roll. The Germans roll a 4. -1 is a 3. Best I can get is a 1, so I take 2 sorties and no bombing gets through. But I had to take the chance there. If we got 1 bomber through, that would have been really great. But didn't work, though. Didn't work out that way. So later this year, I will get more bombers, and then I'll be able to do that more often. Yeah, I think I'm done with the. Oh no, I was gonna move this convoy with that thing there, and let's see. I don't have an Italian Navy to worry about anymore. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the American 4th Fleet first, and it's gonna move over here to Gibraltar. Hello, Gibraltar. Where are you? Yes, we're gonna move into Gibraltar. We're gonna take a sortie. And then the aircraft is going to activate to be transported by the convoy, escorted by the fleet. So, how do I do this? This mess goes out here. We'll leave the Gibraltar guy there for now. So they're going to go into 16, and the Americans really don't care where the Germans intercept them. So they'll go into 7. Okay. And the Germans can intercept this. The Americans would be at +1. The Germans would be at +1. And then if they got through, it's going to be closest port in terms of movement points, which is 1-2 to Cardiff, and it's 1-2 back into Gibraltar. So it's 1 sea zone either way, so we can't really stop them. So I think, I don't think it's really worth it. Who knows? I might get lucky and give them a bunch of sorties. All right, the Germans will go ahead and use this up. Throw out their surface action marker. So the Germans are +1. The Americans are +1. And roll dice. And the Germans are all 4 + 1 is a 5. The Americans are all 2 + 1 is a 3. 5 to a 3 is a DR. So the Americans take 2 on their fleet. And a DR means I get a sortie for that attack. And the DR means I get through, so I can attack the British convoy. I'm now at 0. The convoy is -2 for being, or +2 for British, -2 for being a convoy, and -1 for sorties. So it's a 0 to a -1. And the Germans roll a 2. And they roll a 6. -1 is a 5. A 2 to a 5, I believe, is 2 sorties. 2 to a 5 is 2 sorties on the German. That's important for how long it'll take it to come back. And I take a sortie because I won the combat. My movement continues, And this whole stack is going to end up in Cardiff. And I don't have to take any sorties on the fleet or the convoy because they fought combat, but I do need to add a sortie to the airplane for the movement. And then the airplane is going to activate and move to Southampton and take a second sortie there. And that's that. And at the end of the German activation, when they failed to turn me back, they would go back on the turn track, and their counter says sorties +1. Okay, that's what that S is. So sorties +1 is 3 sorties plus 1 is 4 turns. So 1, 2, 3, 4 turns. It won't be back and in my hair until November. So at least I don't have to look at it for the next clear weather turns. I can ignore it. Yes. So that was the British move. I don't think I have any other moves at this point because I can't pull this guy out of Rhodes until next turn because he activated this turn. Well, I suppose I could do that. Just get it out of the way. This convoy will go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 for the Suez, 3, 4, 5, and land in Benghazi. And then we'll spend a point from here. We'll go ahead and spend a point from there. We're going to activate this guy. And where are we going to put him? I have no idea. Put him in Italy someplace, maybe. I can't really put him in Italy. I can put him in Sicily, but no, I can't because there's convoys there. So maybe I won't activate him. I don't have anywhere to put him yet until I capture those ports. Dagnabbit. So give me back that point. I'm not going to activate that infantry unit. But I will take a sortie on the convoy just to get him up there. Excuse me, so he's in position for next turn. So then I have to do supply. This guy over here doesn't need to be in supply because he's a garrison unit on an island in a port with no transport lines, so that marker just goes away. He's magically in supply without using the convoy. That's a little weird. This British will go ahead and... Where's my sortie? There we go. We'll make this guy be in supply just for kicks. This had to go back. End of the actions phase, that goes back in the surprise macro. Holding box. There's another Italian. It must die. They don't exist anymore. They've been taken out of the game. As my children would say, they lost the game. So, okay, I need to do supply here for 2. And supply for the 2 Americans coming down the rail line into these ports. Oops, I put that on the airplane. Not the airplane. Not the airplane did that. That should be the convoy that gets those 2 sorties. So those guys are in supply. I've made the guy in North Africa in supply. That guy over in Rhodes is in supply. And everybody, of course, in England is in supply because they're in their home country, so I don't have to worry about it. And that's the British turn. And I'm going to take a quick stop here. I've got to turn on my timer. I think that's going to be the British turn. Let me double check. Be right back. Yeah, that's going to be the British turn because I have a lot to do with the Russians. So we're not going to get both of them combined. So we're going to come down here. If I missed a supply or something, I will probably just retcon it in. I think I've got them all this time around. So that's the Western Allies' answer to the Axis July 1943 turn. Italy fell a few months early. I think they traditionally fell in September of 43. So, yeah, we're ahead of schedule with the Western Allies. We've taken out Italy, so we don't have to worry about the Italian fleet, which means I need to leave a few convoys for supply, but most of the fleet can start reconstructing itself and getting ready for Overlord to go into France and stuff. So we'll see where that goes. I will be back shortly with the Soviet operations phase. This is Dren608. If you like my videos, please subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. I do answer notes and notifications and comments that you leave. So if you have a specific question on how something worked, or you think maybe I did a mechanic wrong, please point it out, and I can sit down and go through the turn here and see if you're right or not. Won't guarantee that I'm 100% right on every turn. I think I usually am, and when I do make mistakes, it's usually like being off by 1 point on a plus or a minus, and when I go back and check the die rolls, it wouldn't have made any difference. So far I've been very lucky with that kind of stuff. So I'll be back shortly with Soviet July 1943 turn. See you later. Bye-bye.